what it's about. It was, by and large, in my opinion, a rational, quote-unquote, project. It was a solution to a perceived problem. That is genocide. Nothing unique about that. And what else can I say about my book? Well, I use a lot of Scandinavian sources, and this will perhaps be interesting for you here, and I will try to concentrate, I'm in Norway, so on some of the Norwegians. But first of all, this is a very familiar map, but just to show you, this is pretty much the genocide. So where were the Scandinavians? Up here, Mount number 6, some 5 Danes. Down here, a Dane, 2 Norwegians, and a Swede up here, and a number of diplomats in Constantinople. And plus some extra persons that are thoroughly under-researched at this point. Some Danish and German servants, etc., nurses, and so on. So, why were they there? Why weren't they kicked out? Because they were neutral. That is the main reason. So, there were some Scandinavians there. I'm not going to get into the book to talk about the actual genocide, how it was perpetrated, and most of you people know about this anyway. So I'm going to go a little bit back in time to where Scandinavian and Western involvement in the Armenian question began in earnest. I'm speaking fast because, well, I'm Danish, and also because we're running late. There you go. Okay, 1890s, Armenian massacres. I've taken, just so you know, some photos that I'm not, because I suspect that will be children, so if you don't know what it is, you won't notice. But this is one of the massacres of the 1890s. It's an 1895 massacre at the Oslo. And this, during the reign of Sultan Abdulhamid, was the first comprehensive attempt by the Ottomans to solve the so-called Armenian question, more or less permanently through mass violence, not just suppression and exemplary violence here and there, but really, truly all-encompassing mass violence. Not as such annihilation, that came later on, but mass violence. And so, what to do? Again, like today, Europeans, Americans were faced, and Scandinavians, well, we weren't really faced with any problems because we were small and we were neutral, so people didn't expect much from Scandinavian governments in this respect. But major and sort of regional powers, it was discussed what to do about this because, well, these are Christians, okay, so we sort of have to intervene. Some were also very broadly humanitarian, saying we need to intervene anyway because these are human beings. So there's a lot of discussion, a lot of debate about what to do. Ideas are floating around: military intervention, criminal tribunals, international tribunals, fact-finding missions, several of those. All the things that we know today in Syria, we will see it in Ukraine at some point, etc., etc. All of these markings of great humanitarian disasters that sometimes turn into farces on an international political level, we see them during these massacres, during and after. So, as I said, 1890s, the Armenian question becomes international in a profound sense, in that it also becomes a grassroots part of the growing grassroots movements, non-governmental organizations, etc., as we call today. Some has claimed, and I tend to agree, that the Armenian issue during and after the 1819 massacres is the beginning of modern grassroots movements, of modern relief organizations, etc. This is simply, it is born out of, this is why one of our main theses of the book is that Armenian genocide is, of course, Armenian and Turkish history, but it is much more than that. No one owes this history. It is also Danish, Norwegian, European, and American history. for very many profound reasons, which I try to list in my book. It is our history. No one owns this. Very often you say, why should I care about the Armenian genocide? This is an Armenian Turkish matter. No, it's not. It is our history and our problem, so to speak. We were there. Our societies are also built on these experiences. So, this is one of the persons who personifies it, and I just took the photo because, well, we need some images here, and also because I like him. He was one of the most interesting persons. He dedicated his whole life to the Armenian cause. From the 1890s, his name was Omar Benedict. He was Danish, Jewish, Icelandic. Very interesting person, and founded the Danish Friends of Armenians, which would later on send Karen Jeppe to Urfa, and she would later, after that, work in Aleppo with Armenian survivors. I'm going to get into that in the end again. But he was a very fascinating person, an eccentric, and hope to write a book about it someday, so I'll advertise him every time I get the chance. So, grassroots movements become interested in the Armenian issue. Intellectuals in Norway, one of those in the forefront during and after the 1819 massacres would be Matthias Bjørnlund. You guys know him. We're in Norway. He writes a lot about it. We have Knut. He is involved in the Armenian question in another way, in that he justifies what the Turks are doing to the Armenians. He is not only an anti-Semite, but also a very outspoken Armenophobe. To him, like so many other Western intellectuals, Armenians are the Jews of the East. That's how they would phrase it. Because back then, Jews were actually living in Europe. That's before the Holocaust, so that's not Jews. So he was wildly Armenophobic, Knut. But then we also have various, again, I'm taking the Norwegian, some of the Norwegian examples. Sofus Christensen, probably no one of you guys know him, but before Norway was, should we say, liberated from Sweden, 1898, he wrote a pamphlet about how he decried the lack of will to nationalism and independence in Norway. Norwegians were lazy. They weren't trying to get away from Sweden, from the union with Sweden. No. And part of this whole laziness, he also saw that he sort of diagnosed it that the lack of will to intervene in favor of the Armenians was part of this whole disease. This whole Norwegian and European disease. So this is how the Armenian question and the Armenian massacres could be used by humanitarians, by missionaries, and also by a guy, a very conservative guy like Sofus Christensen here, for their own means and ends. So that was quite common. And in case you want to read a lot about contemporary, about the Armenian, the Abdul Hamid massacres in Norway, there's, I just wrote this in case anyone was interested, Norsk Familiejournals Uberby has, from 1890s, has tons on the massacres. Very, very perceptive, up-to-date reports. So, yeah, I read them. Found them at a flea market, no less. So, Armenian issue is a Scandinavian issue, also for very many reasons, because Armenian refugees from the massacres end up in Norway, in Denmark, and in Sweden. From around 1900 and some years after that. We actually have them. There are reports in Norwegian newspapers about these pesky Armenian beggars going around because they have no money. You actually see that. You see that in Denmark, you see that in Sweden. Some of them are false Armenians. They pretend to be Armenians riding on a wave of sympathy in the Western world. So they're actually not Armenians. They are other people from the Ottoman Empire coming out pretending to be Armenians and cashing in on it. You also see that. It is, as I say, part of the end of the police reports here, up here. So, what you may know, that during the Armenian genocide, actually refugees, survivors, Armenian genocide survivors, sailed from here in Oslo and Bergen to America. on